All right, good morning. I start this morning by sharing a story about a very, very much older than anybody here, much older than anybody we know, elderly woman who calls her neighbor and says, "Can you come over and help me? I have this killer jigsaw puzzle, and I can't figure out how to get started." And so her neighbor asks, "Well, what's it supposed to be when it's finished?" And the silver-haired lady says, "Well, according to the picture on the box, it's a rooster." So the neighbor comes over and she shows him where she has the puzzle spread all over the table. He studies the pieces for a moment, looks at the box and turns to her and says, "Well, first of all, no matter what we do, we're not going to be able to assemble these pieces into anything resembling a rooster. It's just not going to happen." And then he takes her hand and says, "Secondly, I want you to relax. Let's have a cup of coffee together. And then," he said with a deep sigh, "let's put all the cornflakes back into the box." Come on. It could happen. It could happen. All right. So, you'll think of that the next time you have your cornflakes, won't you? Yeah. There's a puzzle in here somewhere. All right. So, I thought it was really great after the rains that we had. I'd be out walking the dogs at night and look up at the sky, and it was really clear, and you could see how bright the stars were. Did you see that? Wasn't that incredible? The air was so good. And I sort of be out walking the dogs, and I think about how vast the universe is. It's like, wow, it is so big out there. It just goes on and on. You could almost feel like you were insignificant. But what we teach is that the universe has meaning because we have meaning. Each and every one of us is valuable because we are filled with the activity, with the presence of the living Spirit. And we have meaning because the universe has meaning, because that presence actually exists within us. So it's not like space is empty. We would actually say that space, in that thing that we call space, there is a living presence, because that living presence is actually everywhere, including within us. And this is really what I want to talk about. We make great discoveries in space and science, and I think all of that is terrific. But it's not really the outward accomplishments, it's the inward revelations that we have. And that those revelations is the truth that really sets us free. And that's what's going to take us to the next outer step in our life or in our world. Because we realize something greater in here, because something greater is revealed within us, we will be able to take the next step out here. So often what it is that we want to take that step out here, but nothing greater has happened in here. And we wonder, why is it so difficult? Why isn't it happening? Why aren't I making progress? Why isn't this particular thing getting healed? Well, because there's been no fundamental change inside of us yet. So Science of Mind teaches us that there's only one principle, one power, one presence. So whether we call that the living Spirit or the presence of God, we have to know that continuous, unified, intelligent potential that has always existed is everywhere. So the way Ernest Holmes says it, he says it very, very simply. He says, God is all there is. That's it. God is all there is. God is all there is. God is all there is. You can put any spin on it you want, but God is all there is. And so the distinction I want to make is that sometimes we have the eyes to see that, don't we? Somebody shows you their newborn baby, and you just look and go, "Oh, the divinity of this perfect little being." Or I see that basket of puppies on an Estee Lauder commercial, and I start to cry, and I think, "Oh my God, God is everywhere present. Look at those puppies. They're so beautiful, puppies. I can't believe it, puppies." Or you see the sunset or the stars at night, But it's all God. But then sometimes we don't quite have the eyes to see it. We look at situations happening in the world and we think, well, God sure isn't present in this. God certainly must have lost this file. I don't understand where God could be here. Right? But it's just that we have yet to cultivate the eyes to see that. So Ernest Holmes talks a lot about the mind of God, that we learn about the mind of God. It's another way of saying we develop a relationship with the presence of God. And so how we develop this relationship, and this is the important thing, is that we develop this relationship by going within, by introspection, by contemplating, by quieting our mind, by meditating. You know, the important thing is that you make the effort, because you're telling the universe you're willing. Because you sit down and close your eyes, you're telling the universe, I am willing to go to a deeper place than I've gone before. I'm willing to know something of a greater spiritual depth than I've ever experienced up until now. So Tennyson said it like this, the poet Tennyson, he said, self-reverence, self-knowledge, and self-control. These three alone lead life to sovereign power. So that if we practice self-reverence, right, which is really science of mind, why would you not practice self-reverence? God is right where you are. You're not junk. God doesn't make any junk. Self-knowledge, knowing the truth about yourself, and self-control. You know, the hardest part of having a spiritual practice is showing up for it every day. It's the hard part. You know, it's just like, oh, again, a new day. I've got to suck it up and sit down and shut up. You know, it's just that simple. Suck it up, sit down, shut up. You know, and then if you do, you know, out of your willingness, the magic starts to happen. You know, it's so easy to put everything else in front of you as a priority that then if you have any time left, you'll devote to your inner life, isn't it? You know, we're such busy people. We have so much to do. But you know, it's not that we lack the talent or the ability or the intelligence or the potential in life. See, I think everybody is filled with potential, everybody's filled with talent, everybody's filled with intelligence and gifts and abilities. Those exist within us. We came in with those things. But because we don't cultivate a rich, deep, sincere inner life, we don't have the ability to believe that about ourselves all the time. Does this make sense? We have glimpses of it. There are days where we're really convinced, well, I am here to stir up the gift of God within me. And other days we think, oh, if there's only Pepperidge Farm cookies. You know, my highest good is in the bottom of a bag of Pepperidge Farm cookies. I just know that's the highest I can reach. See, so the problem with that is that we just don't believe it about ourselves. And the way we get to believe it about ourselves is because we ongoingly cultivate a rich inner life. It seems to me that only after we accept it will we have the confidence, you know, to really go full steam ahead to create or to have or experience this greater expression of life. You know, there's a great depth of splendor within us, and it must be unfolded through a process Ernest Holmes teaches us of self-realization. That we turn our attention within, and we turn our attention within, and we turn our attention within, and then we like go, oh, I understand something greater now. Oh, you know, that process of turning within is really where we touch the hem of the garment. And see, because, you know, growth is always an unfoldment. That's like a spiritual law. You know, there are no shortcuts in consciousness. Do you ever see these things in magazines where like you can get a set of CDs or DVDs where they guarantee for only $99.99, you know, that you will be able to meditate like a Zen master in only, you know, 3 minutes a day or something like that. And I'm here to tell you, it's just not going to happen. What somebody has dedicated their life to spiritual practice, that's why it's called practice, you know, you're not going to be able to achieve those same results and have those same experiences because you spend $99.99. Now, I am the first one to be willing to spend $99.99 because I'd much rather spend $99.99 and try for it in 3 minutes than have to actually, you know, suck it up, sit down, and shut up, and close my eyes, and do the work myself. Look, I'm on board with it. I have looked everywhere but within, I am here to tell you. I honestly have, until all that was left was for me to become a minister. Because I was flying all over the country going to listen to this one and that one and this one and that one, and I was sure somebody out there could do the work for me. You know, and basically, after spending thousands and thousands of dollars and years, what I realized was they were all essentially pointing to the same thing, that in the final analysis, we have to do the work ourselves. There is nobody who can do the work that we do to lift and heal our own consciousness. Nobody can do it for us. That yes, it's good to have people along the way who are encouraging us and knowing the truth for us, but nobody can do it. There's no shortcut in consciousness. You know, so it seems to me that all of the things that we face, and I know we face lots of things in a very busy life now, and there's lots going on in the world, that really a spiritual solution is the thing. A spiritual solution is the thing, because we've tried all the material solutions we can come up with, haven't we? I'll just do it harder. I'll just spend more. I'll do it faster. I'll just do more of this. I'll just do more. Or intellectual things. If I could just find the right piece, the right key that would make it all fall into place. That has not done it. That spiritual things can only be spiritually discerned. And the problems that we face in our life, that's the ones that really seem to plague us. Not the little stuff like you need to create order in your closet. The big important life things, that really, really plague us and challenge us again and again. They can only be solved by a spiritual solution. Because think about it, you've tried everything else, right? Spiritual things can only be discerned spiritually. So 2,000 years ago, Jesus made this incredible breakthrough into the world within, right? That he demonstrated what it means to allow the kingdom of heaven that is within to be revealed here in our life on earth. And so this is really the big thing, this idea of a great within that has existed for as long as people have existed. It's inspired mystics and poets and philosophers forever. But here's the thing with Jesus, is that up until the time of Jesus, people thought you had to die to get free, right? That, life was hard. It was drudgery. It was suffering. Think about it. People didn't live long. Probably your grandparents, my grandparents thought they were lucky if they made it to 50, right? Didn't they? Because people just didn't live that long. Life was so hard. It was tough on people. And then when people came to church was supposed to remind them, because of stained glass and incense and candles and choirs and gold and silver, it was supposed to remind them of heaven. That even though 6 days a week your life really stunk, you would get to go to a place like this when you die. Great. Oh boy, when I die, it's all going to get better. That's just not okay with me. So Robert Browning, the poet, said, "To know rather consists in opening a way out whence the imprisoned splendor may escape." So that means the imprisoned splendor is already there. There is already something great of God within each and every one of us. And what Jesus was saying is, hey, guess what? You don't have to die to get there. Isn't that wonderful? You can have that experience here and now. This life can be heaven. You can be healed here. You can be creatively fulfilled here. You can have love here. You can have it here. You don't have to die. I just think that is just like the greatest possible news. That, we don't have to wait to die for it to get better. Now, I think it's nice that it gets better when you die, except I don't really believe that that's so, because I believe what all the metaphysicians have taught is that you take you with you everywhere you go. So the things that you're working on that you don't heal here get to travel along with you. Yes, they are in your spiritual carry-on. Yeah, they are. They're in your spiritual carry-on, Oh, God. So Ernest Holmes teaches us that a realization of the presence of God is the most powerful healing agency known to man. So this is like when you know something to be true. You have faith about it. You cannot be talked out of it. Nobody can convince you of anything else. You absolutely know it's true. That when you really know, your knowing is the most powerful healing agency. See, I think really up until Jesus, people largely felt separate from God. Sure, they had a relationship with God. In all traditions, people had a relationship with something greater. You could pray to God, you could talk to God, you could receive help and guidance from Him. But always God was out there and people were down here, right? God up there, people down here. And so Jesus knew what the psalmist was actually pointing to when he said, "Be still and know that I am God." That's a really high revelation. That's a really high spiritual insight, for us to be still and know that I am God. Now, let me say right up front here, I don't think that I'm all that God is, okay? I have nothing to do with making the planets revolve around the sun or, turning seeds into flowers. I have nothing to do with that. But the same intelligence that does that is the same intelligence that works through us. Okay? So the way I like to say it is, I'm not all that God is, but all that I am is part of God. So all that I am is part of God. So as we sort of speed toward this season of light, I guess we're in it already, Jesus knew that the kingdom of God, the wealth of the universe, existed within the depth of him as potential. I say as potential because it was his job, just like it's our job, to reveal that potential. See, people have focused on the wrong thing, I think, that they fail to catch the real theme of his teaching, which is the truth of the divinity of every man, woman, and child. That we are God's beloved expressions. Beloved, beloved. Not just like God looks at us and says, I feel kind of so-so about them. I can take or leave them. It's like, no, we are the beloved of the Most High. And that means that we are endowed with God's intelligence and life and substance and creativity. We are the inheritors of a kingdom that is prepared for us. But here's the thing. Through our faith, we can open doors into an inexhaustible, infinite mind of God, where we'll find inspiration and new ideas and creative expression and greater love. So in the science of mind, and I think Ernest Holmes had such a keen understanding of this, Ernest Holmes understood that what existed in all the great spiritual masters, in Moses, in Brahma, in Buddha, in all of them, there was this divine potential. So that divine potential exists in everyone. Now, these different masters accessed that potential in different ways and brought forth different things that were right for humanity at that particular time in that particular place. Right? So what was true of Moses and what was true of Jesus is also true about us in potential. In potential. We have the same thing they have. They were aware of it. We have moments. We have moments. I have inklings of it. I have it for maybe a few seconds or a few moments, but it doesn't last. So I think, that when Jesus says, follow me, I think what he's doing is that he's calling us up to a higher level of consciousness. Hey, why don't you achieve the level of consciousness I achieved? I went to a higher place in consciousness and things definitely got better. How about you try it? I think that's what he's saying with follow me. Follow me. I think as expressions of the infinite, as children of God, if we know we have this infinite potential of the Spirit, that we can be an inlet and an outlet for all that there is of God. But this potential doesn't come into form. It doesn't make a difference. What good is all the potential if it doesn't make a difference in your life? What good is all that potential? When people say, they had so much potential. That's actually a put down, isn't it? Because they're saying you had potential, but you didn't use it. You didn't use it. And so there is this divine and infinite potential with us, but we have to access it. We have to bring it forward so that it becomes a useful power and presence in our life. And so part of how you do that is that you believe it's there to begin with. Because if you don't even believe it's there, I'm sorry, we don't have a hope or a prayer. If we don't even believe that it's there. Now, I don't know, why should I believe that it's there? Because, there are thousands of years of scriptures that say it's within. It's within. There's an old story from Hinduism where Brahma was talking, the chief god was talking to the lesser gods and was talking about the divinity that was for all people and where would they place it. Now they needed to place it where it wouldn't get all mucked up by humanity. And so some of the lesser gods were suggesting, well, we could put it at the top of the mountain. And Brahman said, no, eventually humankind will be able to climb to the highest mountains. And we'll put it at the bottom of the ocean. No, eventually they'll be able to swim to the bottom of the ocean. We could bury it deep in the earth. No, eventually they'll dig it up. Where will we put it that people will never find it? We'll put it within them. They will never look there, right? So, I understand that many of us, we experience sort of a dissatisfaction in life. And rather than looking at the dissatisfaction as a bad thing, I think it's actually a good thing if we say, this dissatisfaction is to spur me on, to a greater good. Because God's good is infinite. God never looks at you and says, haven't you had enough good yet? Can't you just hold back a little bit? That's just not the way. The universe, God's love, God's good for each and every one of us is infinite. So if there is dissatisfaction, that's just the prompting of spirit within you trying to experience more of itself by means of you and by means of me. So we feel an inner urge, but what I see happens most often is that we go in the wrong direction to fulfill it. Haven't we all done that again and again and again? We just think, I feel this urge for life and for life more abundant. And then, we just, go to the mall or get on the computer or something like that. We do the wrong thing. We tend to go in all the ways that do not bring about a permanent, radical change in consciousness. Because, see, this is really what we're after. That's the salvation. When we have a real change in consciousness, when we're different on the inside, we will have something different on the outside. All right, so here we are, having tried pretty much everything else to attain happiness and security in life, because I think those would be a good thing, It's only by a change in consciousness that outer conditions are really, really altered. Right? So St. Paul said it like this. He said, to be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Think about that, the renewing. So to me, that says to keep putting new into your mind. I think what we've largely done is that we have done the rehashing of our mind. We have done the re-olding of our mind. That we keep telling ourselves the same stuff over and over again that does not serve us. We keep telling ourselves limiting things. We keep having beliefs about ourselves that are not worthy of us as expressions of the Most High God. We have to renew. We're transformed by renewing, putting something new into our mind. And I know people always say, yeah, well, but this is what everybody else is doing, right? Have you heard that? You said that, didn't your mother? And you say, well, it must be all right. This is just the way of the world. This is the way it is. So, whenever I say, well, maybe it's okay because everybody's doing it, what I always hear, always, is the voice of my mother in the background saying, well, if everybody was jumping off a bridge, would you do it? To which I would usually answer, well, if there was deep water below, yes. But that just got me in more trouble, So simply, what other people do is their karma, right? So, okay, that's what other people are doing. What if they're wrong? Or what if, more importantly, what they're doing is wrong for me, for my growth, for my evolution, for the furtherance of my soul's journey here? See, it's easy to get swept up into conformity, isn't it? It's just really easy to go where all the other lemmings are going. Not that I have anything against lemmings, I really don't, but I just don't want to be one, Because, and that call to fit in is very great, right? So I think, what we've done is that we've sort of limited our own growth and healing and expansion and expression by looking for what's hot right now? What's really hot? What's hip right now? But rather than what can I do for the unfoldment of my own divine potential? That's a better question to ask. That's a question that will really move our life forward, right? What can I do for the unfoldment of my divine potential right here? Somebody was asking me, what did I think about, and that's just always dangerous, but what did I think about prayer in school? And I think, so I want to draw a bigger circle around that. I think the important thing is to get life and light, the understanding that God is with us. God is with us right now. That you carry an untapped potential within you every day, every minute, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. So that knowledge, imagine if from when you were little, right, that you toddle off to kindergarten the first day, and rather than being filled with fear, I mean, there would be a nominal amount of, this is going to be new, but you knew that there was within you, within your little 5-year-old being or 4-year-old being, there was incredible potential, that you were filled up with light and love, and you were always safe in the world, and everybody was a friend you were just waiting to meet, how extraordinarily empowered you would be. And think about it. I mean, do you catch that at all? How extraordinarily empowered you would be, and how free you would be to access this potential within you. You would just be tremendous. Life would just be a tremendous, tremendous experience. So is it important to pray in school? Well, I don't think that's the thing. I think if people really knew a great spiritual truth about themselves, I don't know that praying in school is going to change anything. You know, that's just changing an outer thing, right? But if we change something in here, and everybody learned from really early on that there is all this godness, all this loveness, all this divine potential within you, and you can be, and you can do, and you can have, and you can express, and you can create with that, I think that's a game changer. I think that's a game changer from the time in. You know, so people love to tell me how they're only human. You know, and you know, that's, I say, well, you know, it's not my job to agree with you on that. That I don't want to join you in a limited perception of yourself. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I say, well, all right, I'll give you that you're human in expression, but you are divine in creation and you are limitless in potential. You know, you are divine in creation and limitless in potential. You know, the word repent is interesting. It means to think again. You know, to open the eyes of spiritual perception and see life in a new way. So you hear about repenting, and I think, well, we get to look at our life. We get to look at our way of being in a new way. It doesn't mean to give up all hope of ever having an abundant, loving, healthy, creatively expressed life. You know? People say, well, you know, people have been fighting in the world forever. I just don't see that, you know, that we're ever going to have peace. Well, but see, the thing is, a spiritual life is lived from the inside out. So if love and peace and joy live in me, that's what I bring to the party. You know, and Ernest Holmes teaches us in the textbook that principle is not bound by precedent. So just because there hasn't been peace before doesn't mean there can't be peace now. Are we going to base our whole future on our past? I mean, the point is that humanity is moving up the spiral. You know, there are more people praying and meditating now on the face of the earth than there ever have been. How do you know that? Well, because there are more people on earth than there ever have been. So just the percentages alone, you know, means that more people are praying, that the consciousness is changing. You know, because I strive to be a peaceful person, because I strive to be a loving person, you know, because I know that the principle of God as love and peace exists in all people, even if only in potential. My knowing that is the greatest contribution to healing a situation in the world, right? That people are just, you know, people don't behave better because they don't have access to it yet. But when they have access to it, they will behave better. It usually takes several generations, doesn't it? It takes several generations for things to change. Often. I love instant healing. Instant healing is great. It's exciting. That's why we go to the movies, right? Because it can all take place in about 2 hours and 15 minutes at the most. And it's thrilling. You see the whole transformation take place in 2 hours, you know? But in life, most healing happens incrementally. So this idea of repent is to see life in a new dimension, to see hidden realities beyond every appearance. And life always offers us lots of appearances, don't they? Doesn't it? Life is always giving us appearances. A woman was saying to me, she's very, very close to her grandson, and she was saying that when her grandson is down, when he's low, when things are not working for him, it's just devastating to her. Because she loves him so much, and she's so close to him, that when he's having a bad time or going through a difficult time, she feels like she's going through the difficult time herself. And I understand that. But here's the life preserver. Here's the life preserver to know that, you know what, there's a part of him that's completely untouched by this. That who he is as a being is so much more than this, and that good is always going to come out of this for him. That he's always going to rise up and have a better experience of life because he's been through this. that this is as ugly as it is. You know, can we talk? Manure is really ugly stuff, isn't it? I mean, it is just gnarly, gnarly stuff. I have 2 dogs that love to roll in it, by the way. And right now in my neighborhood, everybody's putting it on their lawn. So we go out to walk, and my dogs are like, ha! You know, they just want like, oh, skank, let me at it. Ah! So as gnarly as the manure is, what we know is that everything is going to grow better because of it. There is going to be rich, abundant, new life because of that process of the manuring. I probably do not need to belabor this point, do I? Okay, we'll just move on. So the last thing I want to say is that Jesus said that you shall know the truth and the truth shall make you free. So isn't that the truth that makes us free? That free, isn't that living with no restraints, no restrictions, no limitations? No health that holds us back, no lack of finances so we can't participate fully in our life. You know, that living without restraint is really using, it's accessing, it's calling forth the divine potential that exists within us. See, there is extraordinary divine potential in each and every one of us. And so I think it's our job, we get to call that forth. So silently say to yourself right now as we move into prayer, divine potential within me, come forth. Just think about that. Yeah. You can say it out loud, in loud, doesn't matter. Outside, inside. Divine potential within me, come forth as healing. Say that out loud. Divine potential within me, come forth as healing. Divine potential within me, come forth as abundance. Divine potential within me, come forth as love. Divine potential within me, come forth as radiant life. So recognizing that there is only one God, one Spirit, one love, one infinite energy. I know it as the living spirit of our being, and it's here and now present, fully orbed by means of each and every one of us. I know that there's something in our believing that has not served us, and we lay that down today. We recognize that any belief that we are separate from God or separate from our good is in fact limiting us. And because it is truly our desire, the desire of our heart to cultivate a deep and sincere relationship with the presence of God within, I claim that for us right here, right now. That we know within the center of our being there is nothing but divinity. It was placed there from before the beginning. And it necessarily follows, because divinity exists within us, there is infinite potential within us. Infinite potential to create a life that's healed and whole and abundant and loving and creatively fulfilled. And so I claim this day that this is the truth for each and every one of us. And we include in our prayer today family members and friends and loved ones. We know that right where they are, God is, Spirit is, love is. We let our prayer be a blessing in the world around us. So those situations that pull at our attention, we claim the perfect activity of divine presence right there. That even though it might not look like it, we claim peace is there and love is there and all needs met right there. Harmony right there. We bless our church, we bless all churches and synagogues and temples and mosques and ashrams, all paths to God. And I'm certain that we are blessed by being together, that we all get raised up, that our faith is deepened and increased. And so with an open, gracious, full heart, I give thanks that this is so. I release this word, and so it is. Together we all say, Amen.